Well, as I said, the Lynx are preparing for a grand final and the Wildcats are preparing for a grand final rematch. And throughout all the drama they've been having, Wildcats assistant coach Mike Kelly was also in health and safety protocols, which led to our guest being promoted from vice captain to assistant coach. It's a very random situation to be in, but Mitch Norton, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Assistant coach at the moment, which is a little bit random for you. You're normally the vice captain, but with COVID running through the state and running through the team, you became one of the assistants on the weekend.
Yeah, very different circumstance for me. However, I wasn't very good at my role, obviously, so I might hang up the old clipboard and that might be enough for me. But I think it's obviously a challenging time. Losing a couple of coaches and a guy that's super fantastic at video. So to be able to cut the game live like Keegan does really helps us when it comes to halftime and viewing clips and things like that. So to not have that avenue to look back on, probably isn't the greatest result. However, yeah, I'm enjoying helping the team as much as I can. However, it's killing me not being out there at the moment.
I did laugh when I saw you because normally when you're injured, I'll have a look over and you got the shirt hanging out and you just look like a normal person. But you were very, very prim and proper. You were tucked in. You looked like a coach.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know why I went tucked in and had the belt done up nice and tight. First game, I actually forgot my belt, so I had to wear Luke Travers' belt. Turns out he has quite a small waist, so I couldn't really take any deep breaths out that game. But it's like I said, it's a challenging time, and I'm just trying to help the team.
Talk me through the conversation, how it comes up. The coach says, "We've run out of people. Basically, we need you to do this to help us out."
Yeah, I guess as a player, I guess as a leader of this group, I'm kind of sort of vocal anyway when it comes to what I see and how I think I can help communicate with the guys out on the floor and things like that. So Scott just kind of came to me and was like, "Hey, look, I want you sitting up here next to me with Trig to just help us out as much as we can." So it's cool to obviously hear that come from Scott, someone that I really respect as a coach and as a person, and for him to think that I can help out in any way is something that's pretty cool.
So what was your role? What were you required to do? Because everyone's got so many different things as a coach. When you're the assistant, what was your main priority?
To be honest, mine was just to think like a player. So it was quite easy. I wasn't charting anything. Wasn't taking care of whose foul trouble it was. I did get put with the responsibility to go up and get the stat sheet at the end of the quarter. So all the important things.
And when the team was trailing by 20 points in the first quarter against Sydney and Scott was losing his mind, and I couldn't tell whether he was losing his mind because he'd actually lost his mind or whether it was a tactic to try to fire everyone up. He gives away the tech foul. We were debating, is he in this game or is he about to get ejected? You might have become the head coach at that point. Were you thinking at all, I could become in a pretty sudden role all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think Scott does a great job of, having our backs. And, whether that's getting in the ref's ear or something like that. But I think we kind of let him down a little bit with the way we played. So for him to go, aggressive and have our backs and talk to the referees and then get teched, I was like, oh boy, it's it's getting serious now. This could be it. But no, it's one of those things. Obviously, different avenues can create ways to get teams up and about, and I think Scott was, just doing his best for the team.
Where do you see this team being at right now? You've obviously got injuries to yourself. There's debate over the import situation. You haven't been playing as well on the defensive glass as you'd like, but you're playing at home also, so you've got the advantage which you should be there, but it's not there. Where is it right now, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of in a tricky situation. Everyone just assumed that Perth were coming home and going to roll, 9 games in a row, whatever it was, and that's not the case. We can't bank on RAC, giving us energy and us feeding off that. It's on 50% right now, so we've kind of put the onus on ourselves to play the game the right way and provide something to cheer about. And the crowd over here in Perth love the nitty gritty. They love loose balls. They love an offensive rebound that leads to a three. Those are the types of things that really spark the Red Army. So I guess the emphasis is on us right now, and the injuries, that's a part of the game. It's kind of been unfortunate, the trek that we've had. To myself, Todd, I feel like everyone's kind of gone through it. So Fraser as well. So in terms of the import thing, it's kind of, I guess it is up in the air. We don't really know where it's at. It's good to have John in here training with us. He's an elite EuroLeague defender. So any chance we get to go against that, I think helps us as a team offensively and helps some of the other guys defensively as well to see what it takes to go to that next level. So we're thankful for his time to have him here. We don't know what it looks like. I think, Danny came out and said that the other day. So just have to, I guess, acknowledge the professionalism from both of them. Fraser to come in and, it's unfortunate, he had that hamstring injury when he did because, he come off one of the best sessions I've ever seen him train. I think that's just a result of all the hard work that he's put in, behind the scenes when the cameras aren't there. He's one of our hardest workers. So it was good to see him kind of pay off and train really well. And it's just unfortunate that the injury popped up when it did. So in amongst all of that, to have 2 days off, completely away from the game, away from the court, away from the media, away from everything, would come at a really, really good time because we've been on the road forever. We had a lot of games in a short period of time. Although we were winning them, I just think the mental fatigue was quite high, and everyone tried to do what was right for them, whether it was getting away from the court for 3 full days, getting away from the court for 2, getting back in the gym for the 3rd day, and I think that's something that will be super handy, and I think we'll notice towards the end of this week.
So from a mental fatigue sort of element of it, the focus on Michael Fraser has been intense, on him especially, but the deadline we all thought was Saturday, and then all of a sudden you get back to training and John Brown is still there. So the people listening, John Brown was training with the team again today. So does that add to a bit of confusion within the players' heads, or were you aware that the club was working through things to try to still make this happen?
Yeah, I guess, we kind of had a meeting before training today where Danny just kind of spoke about what's happening and everything like that. And I think the good thing for us is, I guess it's there in the background and, that's all good, and the media hype it up and all that type of stuff, and that's their job. But at the end of the day, it didn't really affect us doing the wrong or right thing on the floor, in those games on the weekend. So, I guess the onus is on us individually, as a group, as an organisation, to buckle down and do what we can control, and that's coming out and training with the right intensity, making sure there's no confusion, it's just clarity, and I think that's something that we got out of today.
So you've been here for 4 years now, and in 3 of them, this debate has happened at this exact same time. 2018-19, the team went with 2 imports. What are you going to change? What are you going to change? You didn't win the championship. 2019-20, changed Dario Hunt into Miles Plumlee, win a championship. This year, same sort of situation. So the trend happens right now. It's not something you're not used to. Is that an advantage to have players who have gone, we've seen this over and over again, and we know that once you get past the deadline, it becomes normal again?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very handy. There's a couple of us that have been through it. Bryce, Wags. So I think that's handy that we're all a part of that leadership group that can explain to some of the guys that either haven't had this happen to them before or haven't been in this league before. I think it's handy to have that from the leadership group, that experience where it's gone both ways. One, we've stuck with the roster we've had from day one and we won a championship. And 2, like you said, we've made some changes. So all that stuff is well out of our control. And as a playing group, it doesn't matter who you have. Doesn't matter, if we have Fraser, if we don't, if we have JB, I'm confident in the group that we have here. And right now it really is a family. So, yeah, it's tricky, but I think you're right. I think it is handy having guys that have been through this before.
I'm going to make a casual observation based on what we see rather than what we know, because we don't get in to see you train a lot. But it looks like you and Michael have had a fair bit to do with each other. Like, you're in the rehab group at the moment together. I think you avoided COVID together on the road, so you had the only two people left at that point. Like, have you got a good relationship, and what's he like as a bloke?
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Comes in every morning, make sure he says hello to every single body in the gym. So I think it's, when you have that guy that's high intensity, good to be around, fun to be around, gets along with everyone, it makes it tougher to obviously see him go through something like this. However, like I said, he's been an absolute champion about it. So it's kind of been unfortunate that we have spent so much time together, because it means, one of us or both of us have been injured. So it's fun to be out there on the floor with him. And I just can't wait to see what unfolds.
I thought it was really interesting. I've gained a lot of respect for Michael in the game against Melbourne when he was on a run of not scoring, and he gave up a shot to give one to Luke Travers when he would have got fouled, would have got free throws. He threw himself on the floor and set up another basket. So he was doing what you have and demand really as a Wildcats, do the team things regardless of what's going to happen to the individual. Did that game add to his reputation within the group?
Yeah, and that's something that I said to him at halftime. I said, mate, look, you won't get an MVP vote or whatever for what you did, for diving on the floor to get a loose ball. It ended up in a 3 as well. So, those are the plays that the average Joe Blow probably doesn't recognise. But that playing with that intensity and that hunger to get the ball, diving on the floor, skin off the knees type stuff. That's something that can spark a team, not only for a half or a quarter, but for a little good run that we did have. So, but he does the same thing at training as well. So, it's not just a game time decision or he's putting his body on the line during a game. He shows it every day at training.
Now, when are you going to be back throwing yourself on the floor and the things that you do all the time? Like, how's your body? What's your target date to return?
Yeah, not sure. Right now I'm feeling really good. So a lot of running and, some individuals and stuff like that as well. So I feel like I'm not a physio or anything, but I feel like I'm sort of ahead of time in a funny way. But again, I haven't done some explosive stuff or anything like that. So I think it's all kind of just a part of that period where, you might have started off with an injury. Some things don't feel great. And then a couple of days later, they feel fine. So, it's all faith in the medical staff and, they haven't done anything wrong by me yet. So, I've got a lot of faith in those guys and just trust the process.
How's your quality of life going off the court, given you've had a knee, you've had a head whack, you've had a hammy, you had a hip last year, and then you had surgery? Like, when it's all fun and games for everyone when they're watching you on TV, but I'd imagine you've had a pretty difficult 8 months or so just living your life normally without some pain.
Yeah. Everyday life right now is not too bad because I'm able to walk pain-free and everything like that. So I just have to say, more so mentally, it gets a bit draining. There's no worse feeling, or I guess feeling's probably the right word, to when you're told, like you can't go, that's it, and then you got to ice up at halftime. It's not a lot of fun. More so because you just feel like you're letting the guys down. Not because you're thinking selfishly that I want to be out there, I want to be doing this. It's more so that you feel like you're letting the group down, and that's probably the hardest part about the last 2 games. When you win a game and you're injured and you can't play, that's all good because everyone's still happy and we've ticked the box in the right direction. Whereas, when you lose a game, everyone's kind of on your back. Things seem a lot worse than what they actually are. So that's probably one thing that we got out of this weekend and probably the last month, really. We're never as good as what we think we are, and we're never as bad as what we think we are either. It's just the wins and losses obviously skew that little graph a little bit.
There's a couple of blokes in your team who are as very definitely as good as we think they are, and they appear in the Dribble Podcast MVP Awards every single week, so we'll announce where that sits at the moment. On the weekend, I was part of the voting panel for the actual Wildcats MVP Awards. I can't give you the actual 3, 2, and 1s that we've got for the Dribble Podcast Award this week, but I can tell you that Bryce Cotton is leading on 49 votes, Vic Law is second on 43, and then we go all the way back to 12 votes for Luke Travers in third place. Now, Luke had an ESPN journalist from California fly in and watch him on the weekend. They had a draft interview lined up for post-game. Unique pressure to be under, I'd imagine, going into a match. How did you reckon he handled it? Because he was fantastic on the court. What was he like in the lead-up? Did you know it was going on?
Yeah, we knew it was happening. I think Mike was at our shoot around and stuff like that, so we all kind of met him and said g'day. But I think Luke's done a great job, especially this year. The hype around him is crazy. And I think if all this was around last year, I'm not sure how he would have handled it. But I think another year under his belt, he's been fantastic. I think Scott's done a great job with him, kind of just, simplifying his role, but allowing him to go out and play and be aggressive. And I think that's something that we've seen Luke come of age lately, and especially the last month or so. I love how he handled it. It'd be easy to go out and think about yourself and try to do the best you can to get, your stocks up and everything like that. But I think the way he approached the game was really good, and I think that's something that he can carry on for the next month or so.
Now, last week, our guest on here was your former teammate, John Mooney, and it was his birthday a couple of days before. It seems like a bit of a birthday theme because you got one coming up in a couple of days' time. What are your plans?
Yeah, massive plans. No, not really. With the restrictions we're under, it's, not a lot going on. So might get some pho for dinner and then maybe treat myself with a little Freddo ice cream cake, I think. So, not a whole lot of plans, but it's going to be good just to spend it at home and with Sasha.
What is it like having an April Fool's Day birthday? I imagine it'd be a bit unique as a young kid. It wouldn't be as bad now, but I imagine as a young kid you would have copped a bit.
Yeah, probably me not so much, but my old man, when he was calling all his mates to let him know that I was born, had to make the calls twice because they never believed him. So, he had to wait till after 12 and then call them all back and let them know that it was a boy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. It's obviously been a difficult time with injuries and things like that and everything else that's going on off the court, and it's very busy for you. So really appreciate you coming on and giving the Wildcats fans an insight into what's happening with your life.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate the support and love the Red Army and can't wait to see more of you fans in the stands.
So that's it for the Dribble Podcast this week. Remember, keep logging on to thewest.com.au for all your basketball news and pick up your copy of the West Australian. Thanks to Ryan Petrick and Mitch Norton for their time this week. We'll be back next week for another episode of the Dribble Podcast.